Now, the true story from the Bible today that we're going to hear, it actually begins, boys and girls, it actually begins, adults, with a very, very sad face. And the reason it starts with a very sad face is because we have a lady, and sadly, she has lost her only son. And she was a widow, which means she didn't have a husband either. He had died. You know, boys and girls, when I was about 10, my best friend, I'll never forget it, Anthony Mulkerrins, went into hospital for a little operation, and then I never saw him again because he died. And do you know what, in those days, boys and girls, when I was little, you kind of ran away from death when somebody died, and you just kind of pretended it didn't happen. So I went back to school and nobody spoke about it. It was crazy, really. We're a lot better in schools today with things like that. But I just had to kind of get the pain and push it all down. You know, this lady, her eyes are full of tears. You know, sometimes I see Anthony's mum, and it's 46 years ago that he died. But when I see her, even though it's 46 years ago, her eyes still fill with tears. And you know what? So do mine. 30th of August was his birthday. Every year, I remember that. You know, this lady, she's lost her 12-year-old son. The story starts with very, very, very sad faces. And you know what? The Lord Jesus, if you read the story, I don't think he was invited to this funeral. He's with his 12 mates, the disciples. They're just walking along, and they kind of stumble across it. And there's the mum, and there's lots of people. There's lots of sad faces. Not just one. There's many. And you know, boys and girls, can I give you two really good questions? When Jesus sees this lady with her eyes full of tears, when he looks around the crowd and he sees many people's eyes full of tears, what's Jesus going to do? Or even here's an even better question, even what he does. How does Jesus feel? How does Jesus feel about it? Well, do you know what? The Bible actually tells us. Here we go. When Jesus saw, his heart went out to her. His heart went out to her. When he saw her tears, when he saw her pain, his heart went out to her. You know, children, adults, isn't it just wonderful that our God became a human being and he knows what it's like to feel pain. He knows what it's like to see a mum with her eyes full of tears. And he saw her, and when he saw her, his heart went out to her. He put himself in her shoes, and he imagined how she felt. We don't have a God who's distant and far away and doesn't feel our pain and our emotions. We have a God who became flesh and blood like me, whose heart was broken when he saw a lady whose eyes were full of tears. That's how Jesus felt. Okay, what did Jesus do? Well, the Bible tells us this is what he did. Young man, Jesus said, when he saw the coffin, he went up to the coffin and he said, "Young man, I say to you, get up." The dead boy sat up and began to talk, and Jesus gave him back to his mother. Now, at the beginning of the story, her eyes are full of tears, but now she's laughing. If If you were here last week, adults, you remember we read the sermon that Jesus preaches before. Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. She's pretty comforted now, isn't she? Her eyes were full of tears. But now she's rejoicing. Because wouldn't you have just loved to have seen Jesus picks the boy up and gives him back to her mum? You know, boys and girls, sometimes I have to do funerals for often friends. And often they haven't trusted Jesus. And when you do a funeral like that, what you do is you kind of think back to good memories of the person. And that's a really good thing to do. You know, God gives us a very special thing, and it's the ability to remember. Memories are so special. You know, when Jesus comes to this funeral, he rejoiced in the memories of the boy, and maybe that's what brought even more tears to the mother's face, memories of her son. But now he brings hope for the future. Not just memories, but hope. If you've got your Bible, adults, maybe you want to turn to the last story we looked at, Luke 24. This time, it's not Jesus who looks at someone who's died, but it's ladies again. And, you know, boys and girls, adults, I'm sure these ladies' eyes were full of tears. If they weren't when they went to see Jesus' graveside, they certainly would have been. These are the ladies the faithful women who went and watched Jesus die. I'm sure their eyes were full of tears then. And then 3 days later, they decide to go to the tomb where Jesus' body had been laid after he was crucified. And I'm sure as they walked to the tomb, maybe their eyes were full of tears, but what do you think they shared? Memories of Jesus. And wow, they'd have had some good ones, wouldn't they? Remember when he said this? Remember when he did that? Remember? Memories. But no hope. Plenty of memories, boys and girls. But they didn't go with any hope. Just like many funerals, you remember the good things, but you have no hope. You can look back, but you can't look forward. You can look back, but you can't look forward. In one sense, you dare not look forward. Memories, but no hope. But when they go to the tomb, what do they find? They find the stone rolled back. Strange. And then they walk into the tomb, expecting to see what? Expecting to see what Jesus saw at the funeral, a dead body. But when they go into the tomb and they look, they don't see a body anywhere. They expected to see a dead Jesus. That's what they expected to see. All the memories, but a dead Jesus. But there's no Jesus. The body is gone. How are you going to explain that? Well, you probably need someone from heaven to explain what's just happened, don't you think? That's exactly what happens. Suddenly, two angels come and say to them, they kind of give them a tiny little telling off. What are you doing here? Oh, we come to put spices, nice smelly things over Jesus' body. What are you doing here? Why are you looking for the living among the dead? He's risen, just as he told you he would. Remember? Just as he told you he would. Now, what have they got now? Not just memories, but hope. They've got memories and hope. Not only do they look back to the past, but now what can they do? Now they can look forward to the future. And the angel said, now, go and tell his mates. Go and tell his mates. Go and tell the disciples. And remember what he said to you, that his death was so that you could be forgiven, to take the punishment for your sin. And you have seen, you've listened to me, the angel said. Now you've got to go and tell. You've looked, you've listened, go and tell. So the ladies wiping the tears from their eyes because now they've got memories but also a future and a hope because Jesus has risen. They run back and they tell his mates, the disciples. And what do they say? You're talking nonsense. Well, go and have a look then. And they run and they look and they see. And then they go and tell about the memories of Jesus and the resurrection of Jesus, about the memories and the future, the memories and the hope. And they tell people. And then those people tell people, 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 and then there's Kate and Anna, and they're telling you this week, and then here's me telling you about the stories of Jesus, the true memories of Jesus. No, not just the memories, the hope. You know, there's so many people here today, I don't know the pain you have. Some of the things I've just mentioned may have raised pain in your heart. Well, if so, Jesus' heart goes out to you. And Jesus today wants to give you hope. So you don't just look back, but that you can look forward because he's risen from the dead.